Hi everyone, my name is Sankey, and today in this video I'm going to give you what I think are the two most important tips, pieces of advice, lesson, call it what you will, for playing music. Now I'm coming from the perspective of a harmonica player and a guitarist, mainly a harmonica player, but I think this applies to all musical instruments. I'm going to start with what I think is the second most important piece of advice and then cover the most important last. So what is the second most important thing? If I could only tell you two things, what would be the second one? It is to build your Brainstrument. Now what do I mean by that? So when I'm playing the harmonica, okay, I'm not really thinking about playing the physical harmonica. Yes, I can feel the sensation, the breath, the muscle movements in the mouth and tongue and so on, and I can hear what I'm playing or what I want to play. But actually what I'm playing in my mind is this. So when I'm playing the harmonica, I'm actually playing a kind of three-dimensional shape in my mind. And here we've got an example of how I kind of see the blues scale. So when I hear someone playing the harmonica, I actually see it as shapes and lines. And if I want to play something on the harmonica, a riff, or I'm improvising, I see it as a three-dimensional shape. And in there I'm capturing draw notes, blow notes, bends, overdraws, and it produces a line. And to me it's as clear in my mind's eye as holding it. So I can see from blow 10 all the way to draw 1, blow 1 rather, full range of the instrument, absolutely crystal clear. And this is how I make sense of the instrument. There's nothing about this really that tells you how to play it or where the notes are. So this is my mental model, and this is how I turn ideas and musical knowledge into physical motor actions which drive the physical instrument. And everyone who's playing a musical instrument is doing that. But the thing is, some instruments make it much easier to build that mental model than others. And in general, this is not really taught. So if you play the piano or the guitar or the saxophone, the notes are not an abstract idea. You can see the notes, where they are on the keyboard, on the piano, or on the fretboard. So the mental model is kind of provided for you. But some other instruments, like the trumpet, like the trombone, vocals, the harmonica, where the notes are is more of an abstract idea. So kind of where is G9 on a trumpet? You've got your lips and you've got the three valves. So making sense of that so you can play and improvise things like jazz requires the ability to turn that kind of musical knowledge and ideas into muscle movements which drive the physical instruments. You have to have a mental model. That's how it works. Now, when I'm playing, I've got this kind of three-dimensional levels. A lot of harmonica players only have two. In other words, they can hear the harmonica, they can hear what they want to play, or they can hear something on being played, and they can imagine what it feels like to play, the breath and so on and so forth. But most players don't have some kind of framework, mental framework, for kind of where the notes are. And if they do, it's often very sketchy. It only covers part of the range of the instrument, so typically it will be between, draw 1 and blow 6, and after that the lights go out. They struggle to play a high end, or they struggle to play in different positions. Whereas top harmonica players, however you define that, but world's leading players I've interviewed, all have these kind of rich mental frameworks in their mind, and they're able to play and practice in their mind and convert sound and ideas into a framework which they can kind of, in quotes, see in their mind. Now, there's no right or wrong way to build your mental model, and there isn't a perfect model, so on and so forth. My mental model is very similar to Jason Ritchie's. However, Brendan Power has a totally different mental model. Howard Levy, famously, when he's playing, he's actually playing the piano in his mind. So although he's physically driving a harmonica, in his mind, he's a pianist. Which is, you know, fascinating, and I've interviewed Howard as part of the research for the book that I'm working on. So you have to be able to build your mental model so you can have a layout of the instrument, and this three-dimensional shape for me personally is how I achieve that. And it's not about, you know, modeling emotion, it's not about, you know, seeing sound as colors and that kind of thing. It really is about the practical logistics of making sense of kind of where the notes are in the absence of something that you can see. And I also model the kind of physics of how the instrument works. So, you know, bends, blowing, drawing, volume, attack, all of those are kind of represented in this model. And I can't, it's, you know, it's kind of moving around. It's a very dynamic thing. It's hard to kind of bring to life, but I hope that gives you a sense of what's going on there. And I've interviewed about 60 of the world's leading jazz and blues harmonica players and other instrumentalists and singers. So singers like Gregory Porter, saxophone players like Chris Potter, trumpet players like Randy Brecker, you know, a whole host of people. And you can go to my website, which is brainstruments.com, and there's a paper there that gives you all the kind of key insights about my research that was done in 2010 and 2011. So the second most important piece of advice I have for you is to build your Brainstrument. And that way you can practice in your mind, and you can also, when you hear a lick, like a little Walter lick or something, you think, oh, that's what they're doing. I can actually see it. That's how I make sense of the instrument. Or if there's something I want to play, or a riff, or I have an idea, then that mental 3D representation is how I make sense of the harmonica. So really have a think about how you're seeing the harmonica. Really practice scales and improvising in your mind without the harmonica. When you come to play, you'll find that you'll be able to be more accurate, you'll have more ideas, you'll, in quotes, see it more clearly. And this applies to all instruments, not just the harmonica. Build your Brainstrument. Okay, what is my biggest tip, my most important piece of advice for you in terms of music? Well, it's the answer to this question. What is music? So what I'd like you to do is to pause the video and go away and have a think about that. You know, what is the answer? What is your answer to what is music? And then come back and play. So pause it, seriously, go away and think about it. Seriously. Okay, so what is music? So music is fundamentally an act of communication, and this often gets lost. So there's a real dividing line between practicing and building your technique and then performing. And performing could be, you know, to a friend or a family member, or it could be at a concert. But that performing piece is ultimately where your technique comes to life and is realized or is used. And what is it used for? It's used to communicate. Now, especially in blues, you'll hear some people saying, oh, this person's got no feel, or that person's got loads of feel, and so on and so forth. Really, when you lift under the hood, what they're talking about is this person is a good communicator, that person is a bad communicator. It's really about communication. So fundamentally, my advice is, it's not about playing the notes, it's about playing what the notes mean. And if you can, follow that, you will have a much stronger reaction to what you're doing. So if you're focusing on communicating and getting that connection with whoever is listening, you will have a stronger connection, and you'll get a stronger reaction. So practicing music is not the same as playing music or communicating or connecting with someone. And you can see examples. Again, it's subjective, no right or wrong answer, but there are examples where you might hear someone who's got a fantastic technique, but it doesn't move you. Why doesn't it move you? Because the player is not communicating with you. And that may be on a number of different levels. It may be because they're playing great stuff, but they're standing there totally static, they're not really into it. Or what they're doing doesn't connect with you. It's either too complicated, too flash, not flash enough, whatever it is that connects and moves you. But when you have that connection on a one-to-one or with a whole crowd, it's really about a two-way exchange and an act of communication. And so my most important piece of advice is to play what the notes mean. Don't just play the notes. Anyone can play a minor third, but it's playing what that minor third means at the time, which is really what it's all about. So I hope you found that useful. Those are my two most important lessons for music. Build your brain instrument, and music is an act of communication. I hope you found that useful, and thank you for your interest in my YouTube channel. Thank you.